just felt like reading this morning. Psalm 107. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, though those he redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Some went down to the sea in ships, doing business on the mighty waters. They saw the deeds of the Lord, his wondrous works in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They mounted up to the heaven, they went down to the depths. Their courage melted away in their calamity. They reeled and staggered like drunkards and were at their wits' end. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out from their distress. He made the storm be still, and the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad because they had quiet, and he brought them to their desired heaven. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wonderful works to humankind. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people, and praise him in the assembly of the elders. And from Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41, Jesus stills a storm. On that day, when the evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And waking up, he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Be silent, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was dead calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?"
The hymn, "Jesus Pilot Me," or the other song, "Jesus Take the Wheel," right? There's that phrase. Even as you are filled with fear, even if you are indeed afraid, know that you are already part of hope. That you, with your fear, and us together, are already part of a faith that can still storms and move mountains, even when you are afraid. Even when you are near to fear, borrow that imagination. That inside your fear, you are simultaneously already inside of a hope, even if you're not feeling it. Your faith puts you, your mustard seed, your teeny hope, you're being here already woven into this communion and community. You're being part of the beloved community, puts you inside of a body of hope, a powerful hope that can borrow Jesus, in many ways. In some version of Jesus Take the Wheel, in some version of Jesus Pilot Me, in some version of prayer saying, "I give myself to thee," in some way can tap into the power of that God who stills the storms and makes the impossible possible. I never thought I would say this next sentence. Annual meeting was awesome. Right? Okay. The Southern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ, of which we are a church. We are one of many churches, and the Southern New England is Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. We had our annual meeting The official day of business was all day yesterday, along 8 to 5, and the pre-events day was Friday, with getting, opportunities to learn together and play together. I don't usually find annual meetings to be particularly invigorating. And I'm still a little surprised at how I feel invigorated by this. Because we spent most of the day Saturday, and I say we because Michelle Campbell here and I were your delegates from South. And so we got to be there together for a good portion of the day. And we spent most of the day yesterday, like from 8:30 to 5, except for lunch, in the cafeteria at UMass, which has so many options, inside of a windowless room. How do I find this encouraging? I usually resist those types of events where you're in a room in a conference center for all day. But I found annual meeting drew me further away from fear and closer to hope this year. And what a wild thing to say. Yeah. I feel like annual meeting drew me out of that sense of it is overwhelming, all the work we have to do in the face of all the storms that we are in the midst of right now. How can we possibly make a difference? Or, yeah, this is great, but oh my God, right? It's like, ugh, that kind of energy. To like, we are already part of a faith and a hope that can indeed still the storms and move mountains. And is. I liked annual meeting this year. There was something different about it. Probably, Michelle, your presence made a big difference. She was there seeing annual meeting through the eyes of a first-timer. But I also think that the spirit of annual meeting was different. And I think that part of it is, so we're a young conference with 3 very old conferences. So Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island are 3 of the oldest conferences in the United Church of Christ. We go way back. And I think officially just 2 years ago, it's within the past 2 or 3 years, and officially we became one conference, the Southern New England united together. And so this is actually like only the 2nd annual meeting of the conference. And what felt different is that the emphasis was not on our declining numbers, which if you've been to most every other annual meeting, it just talks about how membership is declining in the United Church of Christ. And it kind of gets in that place of like, But it felt like instead of being about why are we perishing, it was about look at the power that we already have. And look at the power that we are activating. And it felt like it was an activation of power. It was actually paying attention to the power that we have when we connect to our faith, the particular way we express faith here, which is a faith in peace and love and justice and a right for all beings to live full and robust and abundant lives, right? We weren't sitting in an annual meeting of a church telling us to hate anybody, right? I'm going to pass this around. It'll take a while to get around. You don't have to rush. So there were several bits. One of the images that ended up sticking with me was the keynote speaker, Reverend Dr., I believe, Courtney Strain-Teager, who is the human relation. She works with the Cornerstone Foundation, which is one of the financial ministries of the United Church of Christ. This is not an ad for Cornerstone Foundation. And she gave a talk called God Math, and she used an image, right? So it's a great sermon, a great message, but a powerful image she used was this one that's going to make its way around. A story she told was that there was somebody who was caught in a riptide at a beach, and it was a beach in Florida. somebody caught in a riptide, and then their family member, a grandmother or somebody, went out to try to get them, and then they got caught in a riptide, the riptide also. I'm not sure how many went and followed, but that idea, right? So the family tried to save each one, and people got caught by going in by themselves into the riptide to try to save the person who was originally stuck. And then out of the ingenuity of humanity, which can be good, right? The people on the beach decided to line up, I think it says about 80 people, lined up, hitching arms like this, and made a human chain from the shore, the beach, all the way out, so that they could eventually have the people who were caught in the riptide grab onto that chain and then pull them out of the riptide, right? So that you'll see that coming around. And this image of the immense power of that chain. That is literally something none of us could do alone, as was tried, right? These other folks went in to try to save alone and just got caught up in the same power, the same storm, the same sea. But the humans, by faith, by hope, by a sense of we have to do something, by a willingness to take a risk, created this power chain, right? This power chain. So we here, South Congregational Church, United Church of Christ in Springfield, are like one of those human beings in a chain of other churches in the United Church of Christ, and specifically in the Southern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ. We get to be proud members of that conference because it's a powerful conference. Yo, we're the power source in the UCC. We are one of those people in that chain. And we are actually saving lives. And I think that is part of what was so impactful about annual meeting is this reconnection with, and you know it, and we know it, but to try to feel it in our bodies in different ways, that what we do here is not merely just trying to go, save somebody by ourselves in the riptides. We're not just getting stuck, and it's not only about individually finding a sort of calm center in our grounded faith, which is so important too, but it is also about building up that link and